All right, I'm gonna turn off porch.
Oh, what is going
Morning, Josh.
Did you turn off
Porch.
yeah, what shot us up to 6.6?
No, we didn't change anything.
Okay.
I'm about to check the arm again.
Yeah. Roger. Oh, we're changing.
Yeah, I just turned on the arm.
Okay.
But it was, I think it was changing beforehand because it last heard from it a minute ago. Which leads me to believe.
A minute ago?
Yeah. So I'm not convinced it's the arm.
Okay.
Yeah, with the arm we're at 2.4.
Roger. This might be squeezed because we haven't changed anything besides the arm. And turning on the Prevco and the super and the
Yeah, I was worried it might
Ethernet
be.
bothered. I was thinking it might be them, but they're still on, and we were at 6.6 just a minute ago, so.
We had a ghost 1 meg DC ground fault that we cannot recreate, so. It's never going to change.
You know, it works and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And I haven't gotten it to work all year. Adding targets to NAVG. Clearly you've never sailed with Bob.
You can secure power to the super now.
Oh, you mean it's not just for resetting
Sure, and
TVL?
Prevco bottle?
I haven't checked that yet.
Okay.
Can't put underlays in it, can't set targets.
So I want you to use Seascape.
Seascape?
That's it's this program, but
Okay.
magnitudes, order of magnitudes better. With all those things you just said.
Yes.
Don't even need that.
Yeah, oh, that would
Yes,
be
Argus
fantastic.
is pointing up. Haven't gotten to it yet.
I can do it.
We're good. I gotcha. I got you. I might have to not do that.
So is that, I don't remember that from last year, but the middle leg is lower, significantly lower than the other two.
Of
On
the 60
power,
hertz.
yeah.
We've had times when it was 32 and the rest were 40. Right now it's just 38, but
I guess we're only talking a couple amps.
right now it's only a couple, but I've seen it be as much as 8.
Yeah. Yeah, eight's the highest difference that we've logged.
Right. That was on recovery when we were just maxing out full verts.
You can secure
Do you
power
want
to
us-
the Prevco bottle.
Sure.
Roger.
Thanks.
Do you want us to put a wrap into port and re-zero? Or you want us to just leave a note to operate at -1? No, I'd wait till we got to the bottom. Oh yeah, enjoy. Go have breakfast.
It's pretty bright in here, isn't it, Justin? Okay. Yeah.
We put tape
Oh,
over
thanks.
the light
Thank you.
on that monitor,
I'm done with this one.
And then Miles complained that it was too bright. But of course, in putting on the tape, you know, we covered the receiver for the remote.
Our syntax was wrong. I mean, that little blue light was bothering you. I'm surprised the whole monitor itself wasn't.
Well, the little blue light reflected onto
It's good.
the Argus screen, and that's
okay.
what bothered me.
I see.
The blue light itself did not.
Squeezage worked. We're at 33.5.
Well, we turned off
Oh,
Prevco
Prevco too.
and Super.
Okay, I'm gonna try the craft again.
Yeah, go for it. Nice. That's his celebrity look right there.
Oh yeah, with the, it's real bright in here.
Just hiding out.
No, he was walking down the passageway, like putting on the vest.
6.6 with the craft on, that's reasonable.
That's nice. That's great. Are you kidding? Reasonable? That's lovely.
I wonder if that transient ground was the Prevco and the Septipus.
It could have been. It could have been.
Just needing to get a little squeeze.
Oh, 3.8.
So Josh says he's actually been having the craft valve open for the first few 100 meters, just to balance everything out.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, that's...
I turned the entire thing, including the arm, on at 50 meters.
Uh-huh.
I don't move it at all, but
Right.
you know, full pressure's
No, I mean,
going
I
in.
like the idea of
And
having the
then-
valve open.
And then I do it a couple more times throughout the dive,
Yeah.
or like through the descent.
Do
And
you-
it seems to
would-
help.
Turn it on or...
Yeah, so you have the craft on and the valve open now.
Uh-huh.
And then,
Oh, and then you turn blue light on.
yeah.
Like you go
yeah,
for
I
it.
actually activate the arm.
Okay.
Right, so now everything is seeing pressures to hold its position.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'll do that a couple of times.
Okay.
But it really doesn't seem to matter after the first, like if you do it at 50 and you do it at 100, like the rest of it doesn't seem to have an impact on whether we have a ground fault or not later. Yeah. Yeah. A and B. Where's your optimism?
Kind of want to narrow it down.
You leave it in the other jacket?
Leave the... Oh, it's Miles' optimism you're worried about.
Yeah.
It's been slowly eroded today.
What? We're in the water.
No, he's wearing his short pants. You know,
No,
and
these are the regular ones.
those,
Wait, what happens when he wears his short pants?
there's
Good
not,
morning,
there's not as much
48.
room for optimism.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Good morning, Greg.
I'm
Yeah, there's
tracking.
the thread of optimism that runs from like the hip all the way down to the
The
seam.
ankle, yeah. Gotcha.
That is optimistic.
So,
And with that.
Yes.
I was thinking maybe we could
Good
do
morning, Sam.
Good morning. I was thinking maybe we could do a quick hello
Hello.
and intro
I can say it really fast if you
for
want.
the
Hello.
folks.
okay,
Watching
so
from home?
our remaining potential offenders on the ground are Prevco and Super.
Okay. Well, we'll find out later.
Yeah, I don't think we get to isolate it to one of those or the other. We don't usually just turn on one.
A and B, power secured. Yeah, we're back in the water. Sanity should restore itself as a result. And not like fully restored, but at least back to where it was before. And my name's Greg, and I'll be your Herc pilot for the next 40 minutes. I'm joined in the front row.
I'm Miles. I'll be your tour guide, at least in blue water, so I guess really not a tour guide.
Little fish.
I'm Gabby. I'm sitting Argus.
Lead video engineer Wayne Borneo for the next 40 minutes.
We have a celebrity guest who we cannot name.
Justin Lowe, data engineer.
He looks like the Unabomber.
Was that 3 shushes all simultaneous?
The identities must be protected. Samantha
To
Wishneck,
protect the not so
communications.
blameless.
Back row. Good morning.
I'm Ashley, and I'm the data logger.
I'm Darlene. I'm the watch lead.
I'm Matthew Miller, and I'm the Subsea Science Operations Lead.
I'm Amy Smith, and I'm at the chart table. I'm a microbiologist at HUI.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning, Samantha.
Amy,
Welcome back.
Which chart are you on?
2.
2. Okay, you need a little bit more gain.
So this is our 4th dive of the Subsea expedition.
Wow.
Woohoo! Woo.
Wow.
And Darlene, what are our objectives for today?
Well, we're going to find us some vents. We're going to find us some water from the vents and suck it up. And Amy's going to run that show, and Sean and Eric. And that water then gets processed for chemistry, for microbiology, all sorts of cool things. Going to get us some rocks for the geologists. And the water also, the chemistry goes to our team from Arizona State University, who's doing some incredibly cool modeling of the water-rock interactions that are happening at depth. And yeah, so that's about it. We have a little bit of searching to do when we get down to bottom to find our targets. And they're going to be actually probably very beautiful to watch for the Nautilus Live viewers. We're going to be in these areas where you kind of have this lilac-colored shag carpet, as Miles likes to describe it, because we know we want some in his future house. And so we'll be there for a bit. We'll be around some tube worms. And then the vents are just incredibly beautiful to stare at for hours. Very relaxing. It's the kind of thing like, you know, some of those new age cafes probably have streaming on their giant screen.
I was pretty sure Miles just was willing to take the carpet if it came with the house.
Yeah.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
So is this a site that we've...
So you know, Darlene, we have Vincent standing by to tell you about the modeling if you'd like to at the ISC.
Oh,
Okay.
great. We're in mode 2. Nice.
Go for Vincent.
I believe there was a level adjust request, but I didn't catch the details.
Fish. Actually, we are descending right when everybody who does the daily migration is likely to up and down.
Cool.
It's a good time period.
Ooh, cool.
There does seem to be a bit more in the water.
Yeah. What's that? It's coming back.
Got that one little fish. It's like, what's going on?
It's fun to have Ben up here doing blue water because he knows every single,
Oh, cool.
like all the gelatinous zooplankton he knows super well. Like they just like fly by and he's like, that's a, I don't know, heebie-jeebie what's its face. I'm like, cool.
He had some better names for him though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is he just saying names and nobody's countering him on it?
Yeah,
or?
probably.
I
No,
don't know.
he actually studies that
at his
stuff.
level of excitement, I think he actually.
Yeah,
studied
he actually
this.
studies those critters.
I love the level of respect you have for your colleagues there, Miles.
I don't know if it's respect or trust.
Trust but verify.
Trust issues.
So is this particular site that we're starting at? Oh. Oh, goodbye, squid.
I think that's. I think he referred to that as that's like a colonial like siphonophore. It's got like all these different sections that have different functionalities.
That looked like a squid.
No, it wasn't a squid.
Oh, I need to be getting hurt cam.
That one of those that's in Argus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, bigger fish.
So we've got some questions coming in whether the site that we're descending to is a site we've been to before on this particular expedition.
So we're going to be sampling 2 new low temperature sites today. We have driven by them, so we've seen them, but we haven't actually gone to sample them and stayed at that location for any amount of time.
Excellent.
Good morning, ship. This is Vincent in ISC3.
Hi, Vincent.
Hi, Vincent. Vincent, we're going through blue water.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've got time. There, Samantha was asking us what are we up to, and we'd love to hear more about your work.
Yeah, so I am part of the science team, and I'm working on the geochemical modeling effort that Darlene was talking previously about. So I work at the Arizona State University, and what we are trying to do is to do chemical modeling, so to try to simulate the fluid, the chemical composition of the fluid that are produced from the water-rock interaction in these hydrothermal systems. And from there, we can then try to estimate the amount of chemical energy that could be available for microorganisms to thrive on those fluids.
Thanks, Vincent. And thanks for the updates that you've been sending in. We appreciate that. That's awesome.
Samantha.
Yes.
So we are going to be going back to that location called Mount Edwards where we placed the colonization chambers as well.
Yes, okay.
And the last photo I saw, which was after 1 day of placement, some of the colonization chambers had sunk down into the fluff and are almost completely covered in little animals and things. So, and it's been 4 or 5 days since then, so we don't know what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
And we're gonna retrieve 2 of those on every dive from now on because we have 6, and hopefully we'll be able to get them all back.
Wow.
So that'll be interesting to see what's transpired over the last several days.
Yeah. Well, I remember that during our first dive, we talked about, you know, how long we thought it would take for the microbes to colonize, and you know, there was a range, but that's certainly a lot quicker, I think, than expected.
I think I wasn't expecting all the animals to colonize.
Right. You have all the, it's the same, I guess, samples in each.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's kind of intriguing that 1 or 2 were totally covered in snails.
Yeah.
Or like a couple of them were totally covered in snails, and others were mostly untouched.
Yes, I think it just happened to be wherever they were located, and some of them had kind of dropped down into the mat, and those were the ones that had mostly been covered.
So for the folks watching on Nautilus Live, we have been receiving your reports that the quad audio is sounding garbled, so working on that one. Bear with us. But audio should be good on channel 1 or channel 2.
Yeah, most of a launch is just monitoring. It's driving to get to center and then constantly looking for anything that might go wrong or that you know, you'd want to catch before you're either off the crane or before Argus is off the deck.
Okay.
And it's very similar to like your descent, you know, like everything is stable, but you know, I kind of just scan around. if you have a experienced nav, they either set up your sonar heads for you or make sure that they're set up, which is nice because then the vehicle, you can also see the vehicles acoustically. So we have visual, we have acoustic confirmation.
Okay. So everything looks good. 15 minutes, I'll do a set of gauges for the next watch, and then we can go eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Oh, I'm here.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this diurnal migration?
Not too much about it.
Sun comes up, stuff happens.
The basically there's just a lot of organisms that make that daily migration.
That's a lot more in the water today. It's pretty cool, like right now.
You know, and the, what is it, myctophids, the fish? It's like a family of fish that we don't, I think humans don't fish for at all. But they make up a lot of the diet of larger predators. Mostly surface predators too.
Oh, cool.
So what have we got on the front porch today?
Oh, front porch tours.
Yeah. Ooh, nice jelly there.
So we actually have 3 wands, much like the prior 3 dives. And then a measuring stick, but 2 of the wands are attached to the super sampler. One of them has a temperature probe on it as well. I believe that's the one with the red tape around it. And so those are the 2 hockey pucks, and then the round one, the lasers are on, let's see if I can go, I can't go over anymore. And so you have the shadow that's kind of running along the front porch. That's our temperature sensor. That's in a, and that one's protected. That way we can try to jam it into hydrothermal vents without breaking the actual temperature probe. We have our crowbar of measurement. I think those are 5 centimeters markings on the crowbar. The entire crowbar is about ½ a meter. We have 2 markers with chain, which you can just see. I can come out a little bit.
Greg, we can speed up a little bit if you want.
Sure.
Would you call that an ICBM? An iron crowbar measurement?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we can do like 2.7.
Yep, that's what I'm shooting for.
Whoa.
It's the
species.
The stick lock is imprecise.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like that update's slower than the other one.
The LCI 90's always been
yeah.
Because I mean it's averaging, right?
Yeah, and the LCI 90 is the same. I'm just thinking about where in the why it would be different. I feel it's slightly different.
I mean, we're using the same shiv.
Yeah, it shouldn't be different. And then we have our other arm. Let's see, we have the first arm, which is by the hockey pucks. Then we have our other arm, which is protecting 2 of our samplers. And those are water samplers that take in the water and maintain it at pressure.
Okay, Greg, we're stabilized at 2.8.
Sure. I'm going to kick this up just a bit. And then we have some safety tools and some steel plates that we can use because all of the wands have a magnet on the bottom of them. So that way we can kind of stage them on the front porch. And then over here we have our Niskin pulls, because on the side of the vehicle we have 6 Niskin bottles. Each is 5 liters.
Oh, I was going to light them for you.
Oh,
that's
well
really
lit.
nice.
No, now they're well lit.
Yep.
And what's a Niskin bottle?
A Niskin bottle is a water clamp.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So a Niskin bottle is really...
and actually, if you're watching on the Quad channel, Wayne just put up the
Niskin racks.
Niskin racks.
I actually think they're the coolest things in the world. Like
Yeah, it's basically a tube.
They're pretty bitey.
They can be bitey. It's basically a tube, and you want to have it oriented in the direction that you're moving through the water. So usually we'll fly up or down right before we trigger a Niskin, because they're mounted vertically. And then there's basically a bungee that's running through the center of the tube to an end cap on either side, and those are pulled now, holding them open. And when we pull one of those toggles that we can go and look at again, we'll get them nicely lit. Then the ends will clamp shut around the water. But if
Hence
there's
water clamp.
Hence water clamp.
That's a good description. Water
But they allow, like, if there's any kind of pressurization to it, it's just going to leak out. But they'll hold their water once they are on the surface, and they'll hold water for quite some time, actually. I almost got a booby trap today.
So nobody really likes porch light except for Niskin bottles. So I'm going to turn it
Yeah,
off.
some of the closer work stuff it's good for, but
So, Darlene,
causes a lot of lens flare.
You said that was the coolest thing you've seen in the world?
Not in, okay.
Okay.
I was a little hyperbolic.
Okay.
But I love it's such a simple design, and it works. It's so
super
effective. Yeah.
I really like messengers on
Yes.
Niskins. That's my favorite thing.
I
like,
love that
generally,
too.
I'm a CTD tech for my day job, so I'm like a little bit over Niskin bottles, but using
Messenger.
a messenger,
Yeah.
so you like drop your Niskin bottle down, like however deep you want to take a sample, and you're doing this by hand usually, and then you send a weight down.
And it goes
and the
click.
weight goes all the way down your wire. It slides down, and you can feel it while you're holding the wire, and then it hits a little trigger mechanism and fires the Niskin bottle, and you can feel all this happen through the wire. And it's really, really neat.
It's
like
actually
pulling
really
a switch.
satisfying, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's super neat.
So when I was in grad school, I had to prep so many Niskin bottles, and the worst though, so I'm like fascinated with them, and then also scared of them, because when you set them, if
They're
you
bitey.
if you trigger it, it's like, oh my,
Huge amount of force.
yeah, it's very, very painful.
So the one that's farthest aft, number 7.
Oh God,
calling it out.
7 is the worst.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Just because of the vehicle frame and the setup there, you pretty much have to get your face right next to one of the end clamps.
Yikes.
Ugh, 7.
Do we have any idea when Niskin bottles were invented? Like, it just seems like such a simple
Well, I
technology.
think they were invented by
it was Sir
Niskin.
Roger
Well, thank
Niskin.
you.
I have the
In the year
Google.
1773.
I believe he was knighted for the
The Niskin?
achievement.
Wait, Greg, are you actually making things up right now?
Yes.
Yes. You're going to have to be clear about that.
But I'm stating them with authority. So it's,
So it's pretty much as good as saying the truth.
Okay, ready?
Okay, yep.
March.
Here we go, let's have
I
it.
got specifics here. March 1966.
Okay.
Oh.
It was invented by Shale Niskin, who patented the Niskin bottle.
middle name was Roger.
Sir.
Oh, and it was
Sir Roger.
invented based on the design by the Nansen bottle, invented by Norwegian Nansen. I can't pronounce his first name.
In what year? I just feel like this has
Oh,
to be
yeah.
earlier than 1960s.
Yes, I bet you're right. I bet it goes way back.
It was probably like wooden casks.
Yeah.
You know, sealed with pine.
Oh man, so you get hit by
Tar.
the end cap and you get splinters?
Oh, this is gonna be
They
a
were
fun
actually,
rabbit hole.
the earliest Nansen bottles were just used as booby traps to protect the ship.
From Krakens. Well, I
From
mean,
Krakens. The Kraken like reaches into the Niskin bottle like
I thought it
accidentally.
protected them from sea crows.
No, the sea crows are your friend. They're the fastest way from A to B. And we've gone off the rails.
The rails, there you go.
What?
I mean,
I brought it
four.
back to a watch from a couple of days ago. It's totally still on the rails.
No, that watch was off the rails at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There are no rails.
This is what happens when you don't dive for 3 days.
This is pretty much how it always goes. Thanks, Wayne. I'm glad that was nice of you to give us the benefit
appreciate
of
the
the doubt
cover-up.
there.
Trying to justify.
Yeah, I appreciate the cover-up.
Yeah, but nah.
Average.
This is real standard.
All I'm saying is that Alexander the Great was making submarines in like 300 BC. I think we made Niskin bottles of some sort prior to Sir Roger Niskin making.
Yeah, I believe it was Shale Roger Niskin.
Roger, no, it was Roger Starboard.
Roger Starboard.
Roger
Starboard
Larboard.
Niskin.
Roger
You thought we were
Larboard
off-
Niskin.
Yeah, you thought we were off the rails before.
We don't actually have the inventors of Roger Starboard here to tell the legend of Roger Starboard, so we're safe for
Or
now.
Bobby Argus.
The inventor of Argus, yes.
No, it's the boy who lives in Argus.
And there we go.
No, for the record,
the record.
nobody lives in Argus. Argus is a remote operated vehicle.
We do a lot of work to explain to people, Greg, that these are remotely operated vehicles.
Yeah, that's why I'm going back to there.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody lives in Argus. The story actually goes that we have a camera that's looking at some gauges on the ship, and there was someone who thought that those gauges were on the vehicle, and so then pre-shift, when we go down to actually check those gauges in person, they saw the shadow of someone in there, and and the legend of Bobby Argus was born.
Oh, boom. 1894.
There-
I've been busy back here.
Wow, Bobby Argus is older than Argus.
1894
Wait,
for the
and
first.
he was born in Broome, Australia, is what I got from that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Hold on, Darlene.
1894.
1894 first bottles.
Nansen bottle.
Nansen bottle. Okay. Very good.
Wow, so the Nansen bottle was around for almost
The entire life
century.
of Bobby Argus.
By the way, Allison's tuning in to tell us that there are definitely rails, and also to remind us that someone's always listening.
Someone is always listening.
Good morning, Allison.
That's actually impressive, though, for a technology, even though it is a more simple mechanical technology, but for a technology to remain as like the dominant for
Yeah.
60 years.
Yeah, and you know, it's because it's a good design, right? It's well crafted. It's just good, well crafted
Simple,
things.
well thought out.
Yeah,
And works. And it
they tend to test,
well.
test well, yeah, forever.
Darlene, in your research, did you find out what the Nansen bottles were made out of?
Yes. The bottle, more precisely a metal or plastic cylinder, is lowered on a cable into the ocean, and when it reached the required depth, a brass weight called a messenger that Gabby was talking about is dropped down the cable.
Right. So
Okay,
not
so
a lot has
likely-
changed actually,
Yeah.
which is impressive.
Yeah, but in 1890s, probably metal over plastic.
Yeah. Right. But you're still lowering there.
Yeah.
You can trigger Niskins by lowering them down by hand, and when you reach the right depth, you send down the messenger.
Yeah, we do it a lot.
The other, I guess, tricks about Niskins is so if they're still open in the quad, you can see the white kind of like dot on the edge of each one, and that's actually a vent. So and on the bottom is a spout, so that way you can drain out the Niskin and have controlled flow coming out. But if you do not close your vent and you do not make sure that the spout is also closed, you can take a Niskin and you get to the surface, and by the time you get the vehicle strapped down, it is empty. So there's lots of little things to check and maintain to make sure that the dive and that the sample comes back the way you want it.
Yes. I've lived that nightmare scenario. After you like hauled it all the way up, you know, like 300 feet from the bottom of a lake. It's kind of a pain.
What are you collecting from the bottom of a lake?
Water.
All right.
It's a water clamp. I mean, we're back to Niskins.
Yeah.
Full circle. Actually, I think my first rosette that I sent down, I did
What's
not.
a rosette, Craig?
So a rosette is basically, they're smaller rosettes, but we did 12 and 24 Niskin bottle rosettes. And so it's a bunch of Niskin bottles mounted in a circle. And usually you would put some CTD sensors at the base, so that's conductivity, temperature, and depth. With conductivity and temperature, you can get your salinity, so you're basically getting your salinity and your depth. So we'd send that down on a cable, and there were 2 copper lines in the cable, and so then you could send down some electrical signals and actually trigger to fire the Niskins. And so you could fire Niskin 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, they went incrementally. So I sent down like a 24 Niskin rosette and had set the Niskins improperly and fired them all and brought it back, and none of them had fired.
Which is better than not setting them up at all, and then they all explode.
I think it's 39.
Gabby, was that
Are we looking at the same thing? Yeah.
real story?
That's a thing that can happen.
Yep, 39.
It's.
Teen
I
was
have
gonna be
heard of
scary.
it happening. It's not ideal. But if you don't open them before you send them down, they're full of air, and once they get down
Right,
deep,
and then they pressurize because they seal from the outside pressure.
Yeah, so we don't gun for that. We open them before we put them in the water.
And hopefully don't get your feet wet.
Yeah, that's one of the Niskin booby traps.
One of the many.
Actually, the interesting thing about this is that so you have a bunch of tubes that are in a circle, oriented vertically, and you think that as they're going through the water, that they would stay that way as they're dropping down. But if you do not have enough weight at the bottom of your rosette, and it's a surprising amount of weight. I don't remember the amount that we ended up having to use.
We would keep our rosette weighted at 500.
It will loop on you in the water. And so like the fact that you have all these tubes that should keep it oriented as the water flows through them doesn't matter in the slightest. And we put an accelerometer on one and basically found out that like we were doing 360s underwater. So you'd bring up your cable and there'd be like a kink in it right at the end, which pretty much means you need to re-terminate. And that was, I got really good at re-terminating.
Got a couple of questions coming in from viewers. One is actually a comment. No, it's a question. Are multiple Niskin rosettes called a bouquet? Potentially. And what's the difference between a rosette and a hydrocast? I'm not even sure what a
heard of a
hydrocast is.
hydrocast.
Let's look it up.
And they should be called a bouquet, but I don't believe that. I really think that just people who work in ocean exploration don't have any real sense of humor, so that's why they're not called a bouquet. Don't give me that look.
Oh. CTD is a hydrocast.
Oh, so if you're just doing just the CTD.
Okay.
So then, if I'm correct, the CTD and the frame for the CTD is kind of like a rectangle, and that usually would get mounted in the bottom of the rosette. But it has its own bail on it, so you could run just the CTD.
Someone also mentioned another example of tech not changing over time, which is the wheel. Also a good one.
Yeah.
And the Seabird CTD.
Really?
Yeah.
How long
the
has that been
Seabird
in?
CTD has been around for a
It's
long
been,
time.
the 9 Plus has been the same for I don't know how long, but it feels like a very long time. Yep. They used to run it without computers at all, just the deck unit, and now we pipe it into computers. But the deck unit hasn't changed.
So Gabby, what type of information are you collecting with the CTD?
Oh, we did this one already. We could ask the world. I explained CTD just about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was here. Okay, world.
Okay, world.
Or Gabby can tell them.
Hello,
Might be new
world.
people listening. You never know.
That's true.
The CTD measures conductivity, temperature, and depth.
And what can you get with conductivity and temperature?
Sound speed and salinity.
What sound speed?
So sound speed's awesome to get if you are a sonar mapping ship.
Oh yeah, did you get sound speed?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually you get nav sound speed.
Yep, but this nav in particular is pretty crafty.
He's on top of his game.
Yeah, usually they ask, and it's like surface sound speed. Yeah, so sound speed's really good if you're using the speed of sound to measure how deep the water is. To know exactly what your speed of sound is over the depth of the water helps you get a really accurate measurement of how deep the water is. So sound speed's an important thing that people get from CTDs. Salinity and temperature are really nice because if you get a profile of salinity and temperature, and often you measure oxygen, chlorophyll, transmissometer, which is how much schmutz is in the water. What else do we measure? You can put anything on like a rosette, like a big frame that has a CTD on it. All those things help you characterize the water parcel, but more specifically, like salinity and temperature are like fundamental characteristics of a parcel of water, and those two characteristics can be used to track water as it moves around the planet.
And when you transition, like when you have like a select group or a drastic change, then you have passed through what we call a thermocline. That's what I was waiting for the thermocline. Where I was like,
I can get into picnoclines if you want. Physical oceanographers also really like to talk about water density.
I like the water density.
Which dictates how the water will move relative to other water sometimes.
And how sound will move through
And
an angle.
Yep, how sound will move through it.
right, so mapping.
Mapping.
Yeah, and then also it gives you an idea of current layers. So, you know, like even though you go down, you collect just conductivity, temperature, and depth, you can actually figure out a lot from just those 3 numbers and how they change relative to each other.
It's really cool to sit through a CTD with somebody who knows water masses really well.
Yeah.
And they'll watch the CTD profile come up on the screen and they'll say, that's Antarctic bottom water, that's surface winter water. Like they can tell a lot about, just by looking at 2 or 3 data points, can tell you where that water came from and when.
The mixing layer.
Yeah.
What kind of weather we've been having recently, what the local like plankton is doing. Is pretty outstanding what you can get from just a few measurements.
Right, and then for anyone who lives near the coast, and I'm sure there are pictures online, but if there's like an example is if there's been like a major rain and you have major rain runoff and you see that interact as the fresh water meets with the, and sometimes it's got dirt and sediment in it, but as it meets with the seawater, you can actually see that barrier as it starts to mix, and so, you know, that's kind of like a representation of what you get. You know, there are these barriers between different bodies of water.
Yeah, at the poles you'll get a lens of fresh water at the sea surface during times when sea ice is melting, or if you're near a glacier terminus. That can have an effect that makes it harder for water to mix, or easier depending on the circumstances, but starts to stratify the water and dictates what's going to live there.
He's coming right for us. Whoosh. Anyway, yeah, so CTDs.
We have a CTD
Try
on
one.
Herc.
We do. We actually have multiple ways of measuring temperature and depth, but only one for salinity.
Right now, we can we infer salinity, I think, from sound speed on Norbit? Because it's measuring.
We could, yeah.
I think you could get an inferred measurement, a derived measurement.
Yeah.
No, it measures sound speed directly, right?
It measures sound speed directly,
so
but
if you're
if
only
you
measuring
know,
sound speed, you still need temperature in order to derive salinity.
right, but we have temperature.
Yes.
From other sensors.
Right.
So we have a fast cat, a seabird fast cat. Let's see if we can see it. Right there, you can see the SBE, and so that is a pumped CTD. And
you can also get temperature from the optode, which you can't see here.
Right, and
but
we also get oxygen
I wonder,
from the
can I see
optode.
it in bubble?
You should be able to see it in bubble. Warning. Oh no, you can't. You can't. It's just out of view. All right. Let's see what else do we have for temperature. Oh, and then we have a depth sensor and the temp probe. So there's a lot of ways that we could figure out salinity, especially if we cheated and used the CTD's reading.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, Wayne. How are you doing?
I'm doing lovely. Nice day for a dive, isn't it?
Every day's a nice day for a dive.
And soon our depth is going to equal our velocity of sound. Current sound speed where the vehicle is measuring is 1484 meters per second. And our current depth is 1438. So we will soon be...
should start to rise here soon.
And why is that, Miles?
Breakfast time.
Pressure related.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects that impact it.
So for those of you watching on Nautilus Live, we're just having a little bit of a changeover this morning between the 4 to 8 shift is just checking out right now, and they're handing over to their counterparts on the 8 till 12 shift.
Yeah, we haven't been able to recreate it at all. And craft is on, valve is open, and we're at 7.1, so. Yeah.
We'll spend a few minutes just talking to our counterparts in the control room, just making sure everybody's up to speed, so.
All right, this is 4 to 8 signing off.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, John.
So for those of you watching on Nautilus Live, we're all pretty pleased to be back in the water this morning. We didn't have any problems on board the ship the last few days. It was just mainly issues to do with strong winds blowing from the north. Once the wind speed goes over a certain level, that puts too much load on the ship, and our dynamic positioning system can't maintain our position on the seafloor, which is necessary for the safe operation of the ROVs. So pretty much all of yesterday we just spent in mapping this region of the seafloor with our multi-beam sonar system. But now that the winds have dropped, we're taking advantage of that and we're back in the water. The vehicles are descending, as you can see from the blue water on your screens. And I think we've just passed about 1,400 meters depth. We are descending to the same place that you've been watching us dive to over the last week or so, if you've been watching. That's the Seacliff hydrothermal vent site. So we're heading down to about 2,700 meters today. We're going to be spending more time looking at the hydrothermal vent systems, making some more measurements, hopefully retrieving some of the micro-colonizers we placed over the last series of dives. So hopefully a lot for you guys to enjoy today. And just a quick check for where we are in the world right now. We are in the eastern Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Northern California, where it meets Oregon. We are about 180 kilometers offshore. And it's a beautiful day out there. Nice and sunny, light winds, beautiful cobalt sea, so it's a good day for diving. So everyone in the control room is continuing to settle in. In just a few moments, our watch leader will start getting us into shape and thinking about the day's operations. Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. It's a nice morning.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Fancy seeing you here.
It's a coincidence. Every morning, 8 o'clock.
It's really strange how that happens.
So yeah, for those of you asking on Nautilus Live, so this is now a new watch. This is the watch that's going to sit with you from 8 till 12. We typically operate these 4-hour watch schedules. And in any 24-hour period, if we're diving 24 hours, we'll each sit 2 watches in that 24-hour period.
We can go around the room and do introductions in just a minute. All right, if we're ready, let's go. I'm Nicole Reynaud. I'm the watch leader on the 8 to noon watch.
I'm Megan Lubekin. I'm on data for 8 to noon.
Hi, this is Aram Yermalik, social scientist with Subsea.
Guys, you are just now on camera, so wave. Science row, hello.
Well, my name is John Willis, and I'm sat in the front row, hidden round the corner there. You can't see me. There you go. Oh, there's a little hand. I'm in the science communication seat.
I'm Sarah Matisic, video engineer.
I'm Josh Chernoff, sitting in Argus.
I'm Jessica Sandoval, sitting Herc.
And this is Alex Wong, sitting navigator.
And if folks at the ISC want to take a turn introducing themselves, we have a team on shore who are leading the dive today. It'd be great to hear from you guys.
Yeah, hi Nicole, this is Chris German. I'm overseeing the science dive from the ISC today.
Hi Nicole, this is Vincent in ISC too.
It's just the two of us here at the moment. Julie is actually on her way to New York. She's being interviewed with Bill Nye today, the science guy. So she's off being a superstar.
Cool.
So Vince and I standing by for the first part of the sampling. We're going to be kind of watching the brief for the IGT and the supers, and then the geology team are going to be coming in later on in the dive once we get more into their science objectives.
So Nicole, what's on the what are some of the highlights on the dive plan for us today?
So we are making our way to a high temperature, well, low temperature vent site and high temperature vent site. So two different ones. The first we're going to do some of those gas tight samples at, and some of the super filters and bags for microbial work. We're deploying a marker and collecting a rock. And again, the team on shore will help us lead that. We're going to recover 2 of those microbial colonization chambers that we left several days ago now. And then we're headed back to a site that had the blue silate mats.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we're going to collect some of the super filters and bags there, deploy a marker, collect a rock, and then finally try to make it to the site that was identified by, or in the AUV data as a potential vent site.
Right.
And hopefully maybe discover a new vent that people haven't seen yet.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
How far away is that candidate vent site from our main sphere of operations?
That's an excellent question. Just taking a peek at the map at the back of the dive plan. And Alex might be the best person to measure from our waypoint clusters to the ascent site, which is, I believe, where we think that new vent might be. Doesn't look very far. It's on a different ridge, so the vents we've been looking at are on one ridge, and this is on a separate site.
Right. That sounds like a pretty good day.
Yeah, it should be a full dive.
So just to clarify a couple of your questions that are coming in on Nautilus Live, Nicole was just, our watch leader, was just telling us about some of the plans for today, and I know you guys have been watching us put down these micro-colonizer experiments over the last sequence of dives. We're not going to collect all of them today. We're going to collect 2, and then hopefully over the successive dives that we make the next few days, we'll be getting them back in a couple each day. And the aim there is to attempt to form a time series of how microbes are colonizing these potential substrates, these potential growth sites. So if you are watching on Nautilus Live, obviously you can see that our vehicles are descending to the seafloor right now. Possibly about another hour of descent ahead of us, give or take. So what that means for you guys watching is we have a great opportunity to look at your questions and comments that come in on Nautilus Live. And we actually have a little bit more freedom in these blue water sections to spend some time answering them, so feel free to keep those coming in. Obviously, once we get to the seafloor, the pace of operations changes a little bit, but this is normally a nice relaxing time for us.